I think the first thing to recognize is that while we want to say ACA is a safe place for everyone to talk about everything that's going on, informally, within ACA, just like any other group of people, sort of there's cliques or things like that. I know that's true, at least in America and here. Different groups of people like to go to different meetings and stuff. So what I would say is, again, we want to, well, the literature says, and we want to think ACA is a safe place for us to talk about what we need to talk about. It's where we come to heal together. It's a safe place, right? So, and of course, there's many things that we have in place. Traditions are a large part of sort of what that is. But the truth is, ACA is not a trigger-free zone. Meetings are not a trigger-free zone. And I routinely get triggered at meetings. So ACA is a place where we learn to work with our triggers, and hopefully we have enough common language and enough common agreement, like traditions and such, and enough freedom from meeting to meeting, because every meeting can have a group conscience and have nuanced ideas and interpretations of that. But hopefully there's enough freedom around that we can find a meeting or more than one meeting, hopefully, that will work for us. So I would say, first of all, shop around for the meetings that work for you. And if it's not an Israeli meeting, go to a different meeting. So what I would say is my understanding of what we talk about in ACA. So when they're sharing and, a person gets their 4 minutes to share, we've had people come in who have, say, for example, major mental health issues, just very clearly, right? And I don't use that term lightly, but people who are very much centered in their own reality, right? And just talking about, may just go on and on about abuse, and it can be highly triggering to people. But that person gets their 4 minutes. Right? As long as they're not talking about hurting themselves or hurting someone else at the meeting, that person gets their 4 minutes. And that's my understanding of it. Okay. What I will say too is within ACA, there's a lot of inner critic. There's a lot of critic energy. Okay. And a lot of that control energy. So Big Red Book Chapter 2, I think it's a beautiful chapter to really talk about the inner critic. It doesn't necessarily label it that way, but I think it's good that way. Big Red Book Chapter 2, and it's called Internal Modes of Thinking and Acting. And it basically says it's judgment, it's control, it's perfectionism, it's all or nothing thinking. This is the thinking patterns of an inner critic, right? And so the control is a big one, right? We want to control this meeting, make sure everything is just this way. No one says this because we don't want anyone to get triggered, and we have to have it a safe place. And there can be this sort of smothering quality, right, to some meetings that I've gone to. So that doesn't work well for me either. And so some meetings I think will have more flexibility, some more structure. Some might call the structure rigid. I think the beauty of 12-step programs is that every meeting can have a group conscience, and every meeting has its own flavor. And I think there's a lot of, just like, the US Constitution or, a religious, reading or something, there's all kinds of ways to interpret the nuanced pieces of it. And people will sort of pick what they like and sort of, this is what it is, right? This is what it says. That's I think just part of human nature. So I shop around, and then there's times where I go to a meeting, and then over time it stops being a good fit for me, and I go to a different meeting. If I was in a meeting with you and you wanted to talk about your religious perspective from your perspective using I statements, I would welcome that. If you want to talk about your parents and how that relates to you and your upbringing, I would welcome that. But it's going to be different at different meetings.